Every day this week, bringing indeed new revelations about Vice President Cheney's job description that previously could have only been speculated upon. And for more on that, we turn now to Washington Post investigative reporter Barton Gellman, co-author of this definitive series about the Cheney vice presidency. Mr. Gellman, thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Of all the unexpected places he turns up and all the unlikely titles he seems to be filling, does your reporting suggest that the most influential one is the one that's had Andy Card's name on it or Josh Bolten's name on it? Is Dick Cheney actually the president's chief of staff as much as anything else?
He has taken on many of the functions of the chief of staff, and he's certainly done things that Chief of Staff Dick Cheney and the Ford White House would have tried to put a stop to. But the thing is about a vice president is you can't fire him, and he has the confidence of the president, and he's the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
This would seem to be the easiest way to ask this next question. In your reporting, did you come across any significant aspect of White House policy in which Mr. Cheney has not been involved?
Yeah, sure, we actually did. There's a whole range of social issues, the wedge political issues, things like gay rights, things like abortion, things like some of the socially oriented spending plans. No Child Left Behind Act, he actually didn't like that. The Medicare drug benefit, he was not in favor of it. When the president makes a decision, he lines up and you never hear about his dissent. And we've found some examples of that. However, on what his people call the iron issues, on national security, foreign policy, economy, and the legislative agenda, and appointments, personnel, he's played a dominant role wherever he wanted to.
One doesn't just not hear about dissent on his part that is not responded to or uninvolvement, but you also don't tend to hear when what he wants doesn't come to pass. I mean, you're writing in today's installment that he does not always win, but it's just that the word of his losses does not get out, which only serves to strengthen his power. But do you have an assessment? What's his batting average? 300, 400? What is he?
Oh, it's pretty high. We don't have a complete picture. We can't tell you we know the whole average. But there's no doubt that there's been no one of nearly comparable impact on the course of events these last 6 years under George Bush than Cheney. I mean, the president makes the decisions whenever he wants to. He delegates a lot to Cheney.
There was a remarkable anecdote with which you led off the installment today, that when the president told the vice president no about the capital gains tax, the vice president lobbied Congress to reintroduce it for him. Based on what you've learned about Mr. Cheney in the course of the reporting, is that how he views his office? He's sort of like an auditor for the president, or how does he view his office?
He views his office as highly operational. He's the guy who understands where the levers of power are. He understands how to make things happen. He understands that bureaucracies are often resistant to presidential initiative. He believes he's operating on behalf of the president's agenda, and it appears that the president thinks so too. But this tax issue is the nearest one you could find to an example in which he's actually moving against the president's agenda, or at least he's nudging the president in a direction he wants. Because Bush said, I want to abolish the dividends tax. I do not want to cut the capital gains tax. Cheney then went to the Republican leaders of Congress. He suggested that he put the capital gains tax into the bill. They did, and he persuaded the president to sign it.
What has your reporting led you to conclude about this latest to-do over whether or not he's actually a member of the executive branch? Where does that kind of rationale start when it seems to be in disagreement with every other year of our history and the Constitution and several other important documents?
You know, there are two issues here. One is, does the executive order cover him? It's Bush's executive order. No one else has the right to interpret it. If Bush says it doesn't cover Cheney, then it doesn't cover Cheney. The larger question is whether the vice presidency is a, quote, entity within the executive branch. His lawyer says it's not, because it's neither executive nor legislative, but attached by the Constitution to the latter. That's the language. It's a fascinating argument. It is not academically groundless, but there's no way it will fly politically, and I think you've seen that White House spokesmen have not been prepared to endorse it.
Barton Gellman of the Washington Post. The final installment of the series on the Vice President will be in tomorrow's edition. We look forward to it, and we thank you for some of your time tonight, sir.
Thank you.